But right now, we welcome to the program Congressman Trent Kelly. He represents Mississippi's 1st District. Congressman, good to have you on today, sir.
It's great to be on. Driving back from Starkville, so just got through teaching a class, so excited to be on today.
Awesome. Appreciate it. So you guys were dismissed, right? Once you got the continuing resolution spending bill, I believe the Speaker essentially sent everybody home for the Thanksgiving holidays. Is that right?
Yeah, well, we were scheduled to be off anyway, but we got it done, so no worries of a government shutdown over Thanksgiving, so it's good to be out of there after 8 straight weeks up there.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, and get your take on this, Congressman, that that approach fell a little short of what the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, wanted, but I think he saw the wisdom in getting that done. He made it very clear he did not want to shut the government down.
That was.
Go ahead.
No, I think that was the only path he had. Listen, I didn't vote for it because it doesn't – there's several reasons, but at the end of the day, it was the only path he had, and so I'm not upset with him. I think he did the only thing he could do to keep the government functioning, to put pay cuts on the horizon and save that fight for another day. So he just didn't have time to do anything else.
Yeah, you could detect he was a bit disappointed with that, but he has certainly pledged that when you guys get back, and you got, of course, this laddered approach that he came up with. You got some of the governments funded, I believe, through the end of January, the other through first couple of weeks of February under these continuing resolutions. But he made it very clear that he's going to expect the House to get back to regular order and deliberate the 12 spending bills. I think we got 4 through 8 left, if I'm not mistaken, and get back to the more sensible approach, logical approach to taking care of the spending function of government.
Yeah, I think we've got 7 through, and I think we have 5 left.
Okay.
It's difficult. It's going to be hard to get those through. About 80% of the government through our appropriation bills are already funded, and the Senate just hasn't taken those up. But who knows when they're going to. But I think he's exactly right. I'm fully supportive of our Speaker. He's done a great job and will continue to do a great job.
Yeah. So it sounds like that he's going to get things on track in that area, at least as far as the approach. Now, as you well know, what happens over there in the Senate is anybody's guess at this point. You got rhetoric coming out of Schumer that anything basically that comes from the House that cuts a penny of spending is DOA. There's just no interest in it whatsoever.
Yeah, and I just don't understand that mentality on that side is listen, we're on a path financially that is unsustainable, and without some cuts to some things, we can't get there. And I don't understand how the appetite to continue to spend at levels and print money at levels and have higher inflation is costing the American. It's a tax increase on the Americans, whether they want to admit it or not.
Yeah. Your colleague from Mississippi, of course, Representative Michael Guest, he chairs the House Ethics Committee, and I believe, last I checked, he's introduced a measure that essentially would expel New York Congressman Santos from the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressman Guest, he got pretty fired up about this, and this stems from, just to set the stage, and then I'll let you comment on it, Congressman, this really stems from inappropriate use of campaign funds, which has been discovered.
Yeah, I think, first of all, Michael, as chair of the House Ethics Commission, is doing what he's duty-bound to do and to file an expulsion motion. They've seen all the evidence and all those things. I'm in a different spot on that. The bottom line is he's been charged with all those things in a criminal court of law. He's been indicted on those things. He's entered pleas on those. And so I probably will not vote to expel until there is a conviction. I believe in due process, and Michael does too. Okay. But he, as chair of the Ethics Commission, is duty-bound to do what he's done, the motion to expel. So you can be in both places and not disagree with each other. Okay,
well, that makes sense, and I agree with you. I mean, he as chair of the Ethics Committee, he can't just let this ride. I mean, the guy violated the ethics guidelines in a big way, in a blatant way. Can't just let that just settle and pay no attention to it. He's got to do something.
Absolutely. He was duty-bound to do it, and like I said, there's a little more. If he had not been charged criminally with some of those same things, I would probably be more likely to do that. But every member that's been there so far, until they're convicted, And at the point that they're convicted, then they've been beyond a reasonable doubt convicted by a jury of their peers, and I think that's the time to expel them.
And we should also point out that the expulsion from the House, the bar's fairly high, requires 2/3 vote, so that's unlikely.
It does, but I would not be shocked if either he's expelled or not expelled. There's a lot of people who are frustrated with George Santos and the way that he's conducted himself going into the election since he's been elected. So neither result would surprise me. I tend to lean that I don't think there'll be 2/3, but it's going to be close, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, appreciate your insight on that. Let's talk about Joe Biden and his visit with Chinese President Xi Jinping in California last week. I've been talking about on the program, Congressman, that Mr. Biden just appears to have declined cognitively rather sharply just over the last year.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think I agree with our speaker, Mike Johnson, where I think he just portrays weakness. And listen, there's some good things that came out of that meeting. Number one is whether we like China or agree with their policies, you have to have discussions with those guys. The second, the mill-to-mill, the military-to-military coordination, we have to have that. That takes down the chances of something that spins out of control or spirals out of control from an action that was accidental. So I think that is a key takeaway, that now you've got our heads of military talking, and that is so important. The rest of the stuff, listen, I don't think China's going to do anything on fentanyl. There would be no fentanyl made in Mexico if it wasn't for the precursors sent by China. And I don't see that really changing. And I'm glad they are talking about sending us a panda back. I think that's a great show of friendship, but it doesn't mean that much in the spirit of things. And then Taiwan, we still have the issue, and so I don't think that we accomplished a whole lot out of that other than the heads talking and the military-to-military cooperation that will be started back up again. Yeah,
the president said, well, he'll answer my phone calls now, speaking specifically about these discussions with respect to any kind of sort of miscall on defense actions, military actions, which is, as you said, is so crucial. The last thing you want is to, I guess, misinterpret that. It's hard to believe that'd be possible, but I know it is. And then actions taken by either side that was just not warranted, that it was just a misunderstanding, believe it or not. And you got to have a dialogue to prevent that.
You absolutely do. You know, in fighter jets and you're constantly operating in waters which we don't agree with the Chinese of where they can operate and where we can operate, and two ships collide or two fighters collide. And if there's not that talk between the top leaders, that can escalate into a full-scale war, and we do not want that.
What did concern me, Congressman, is that during the visit, they didn't talk about the balloon that traversed the country here several months ago. They didn't talk about the spy facility the Chinese set up in Cuba. They had kind of weak conversations about fentanyl, and I didn't really hear President Xi Jinping commit to any stand down with respect to Taiwan.
Yeah, he's not going to. They didn't talk about any of those issues. They talked about climate. They talked about some of the easier issues, and even climate. I visited China in 2016, and they were talking about the same talk about bringing their emissions down to 30% or whatever by 2030. And listen, they are not. They're giving lots of good lip service, but they're taking no actions, which indicate that they're going to do anything to help our environment.
Yeah, it's just concerning that these critical issues that seem to warrant deeper discussion, especially when they're face-to-face on our soil, just didn't happen. Do you feel like that the president just doesn't want to discuss these kind of sensitive matters?
I think going back to the Obama administration and what they've done with Iran, I think they like to talk to people and get the credit for talking to people without achieving any results and saying, hey, we're trying. But they actually are accomplishing nothing, and they do not talk about hard issues. They talk about the easy things, and they like the press op and the photo op and the fact that they can say we're talking to these people, but they are doing nothing of substance.
No, it's not acceptable, and I know you believe that as well. Congressman, appreciate you calling in today, sir, and sharing your insights from the Washington scene, and I hope you and your family have the best Thanksgiving. Thank you, sir.
And I wish everybody out there happy Thanksgiving. Thank y'all.
Yes, sir. We're coming right back, folks, in the Element Wealth Studios.